Hello and welcome to this Real Estate Live session focusing on the work of the Department of International Trade, DIT. Real Estate Live happens 3 times a year and it's a week of free online events. This is our June week, obviously, because it's in June. This is the 4th one we've done. We've had somewhere over 10,000 people attending events over the course of the last year or so. As I said, this session that we're about to have is run with the Department for International Trade. They're going to tell us all about how they help investment land in the right spot. So I'm going to hand over to the team who are going to take you through their presentation. So over to you, Gus.
Thank you very much, Ross, for that introduction. So I hope that everyone can hear me clearly, and I'm just going to start sharing a slide, which should be coming up now. Someone give me a quick thumbs up if that's on the screen nicely. Excellent. So let me start by introducing myself, and then I'm going to introduce the team who are presenting with me, and we'll get going. So my name's Gus Wiseman. I'm the Deputy Director for Investment Opportunities and Propositions within the Department of Trade. I'll tell you a bit about what that entails in a second, but first a bit about me. I'm a former DIT country director in Kenya, so I was posted out to Kenya for a couple of years, which meant I had the glorious job of working with British companies invested across Kenya and trying to do business across Kenya, and advising them and the Kenyan government on securing deals. After that, I came back to the UK, and for the last 16 months, I've been buying ventilators and vaccines, which has been tremendously fun and exhausting, and something that I'd never really expected myself doing before, but something that I was very happy to do as well. Relatively recently, I took up this role as the Deputy Director for Investment Opportunities and Propositions. And what that means is that I lead a team that works with regional partners, project promoters across the country to identify and help structure and promote a series of highly investable opportunities which need foreign investment to get off the ground. So they may have domestic funding in place, but they may need a little bit more foreign funding to get the project started and get shovels in the ground. And we'll talk to you a lot more about what all of that means shortly. Let me introduce Neil and Simon, who are presenting with me. First, Neil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Gus. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Neil McIvor. I work for Department of International Trade. I'm based in Belfast here. My job really is to source projects on the ground here, which we're going to hear about later on in the presentation. So thank you for
that. And my name's Simon Sweetinburgh. I work alongside Neil in the same team and cover the south of England and South Wales as their regeneration expert. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Simon. Alrighty, so I think let's get started. So we're going to be presenting to you for around about half an hour, 25 minutes, and then we're going to have around 25 minutes for questions. Do feel free to put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A part of the Zoom tool as we're going, and we'll either answer them as we go, or we can pick them up at the end. Let's get started then. So first, let me tell you a little bit more about the Department of Trade. The Department of Trade was formed in 2016, and we brought together several different parts of government when we were created. We brought together what was UK Trade and Investment, which was our trade and investment promotion arm, so helping businesses to do deals, essentially. We brought together our export finance arm, and then we brought together the UK's quite small capability on trade policy. And from that small capability, that team of about 20 to 30 people who worked with Brussels on trade policy, we've grown the department into a very large organisation of over 3,000 people in 100 countries around the world, and we've created a new competence and capability on trade policy that we haven't had for many years in this country. We have several objectives which are listed on these slides, but I want to focus in on investment because that's why we're here. Our aim on investment is pretty unambiguous, which is to bring more foreign investment into the UK. We think, generally speaking, in almost all contexts, foreign investment is good and provides scope for economic growth. It tends to be more R&D intensive than other forms of investment and expansion. We help companies to relocate. We help firms and funds to invest capital. We have around 300 people working on foreign investment in around 100 markets. And that's our global resources. And then we've got some more resources in headquarters. Our team overseas is probably one of our biggest USPs. So we've got their job really is to understand the market well. And on this, they provide I think a really strong capability for other partners across government to tap into. So our job is to know the big sovereign wealth funds overseas, to know the big North American pension funds, to know big corporates based in Japan or based in the US who are making real investment decisions daily on which asset class and which geography to put their funds into. So we put a lot of our focus into creating really strong, durable relationships with those partners, understanding deeply their motivations when they're making those investment decisions. And then we use the knowledge and the understanding that we have of the UK market to channel the right opportunities to them at the right time. But it's not about the transaction. It's really about the long-term mutual value add with the relationships with those partners. I'm going to tell you a bit about our operating model for how we work on investment. So the job of my team, the job of the regional investment team is, in a sense, firstly, it's to help connect those foreign investors with sites and companies. And in that sense, they're demand-led or investor-led in helping them to locate things which meet their demands. And the other side of what we do is supply-led. And in that sense, we help proactively cultivate a portfolio of projects around the UK which need investment to get off the ground. And the job of our team really is to really proactively concentrate government's effort into making those projects happen, or at the very least using those projects to help garner the attention of foreign investors around a range of credible and serious investment opportunities that they can put their money into. And even if they decide not to go for that exact opportunity, they might pivot and go for something a little bit different. And our aim in creating that portfolio, and this is what Neil and Simon are going to talk to you more about in a second, is essentially creating a portfolio which is balanced and as attractive as possible to a wide array of investors. Our emphasis is in trying to make the market for the most strategically vital opportunities across this country, ideally opportunities where there is a market failure in that investment and funding hasn't materialized so far. And we think there's a need for foreign catalytic capital to come in. Ideally, these are projects which are also aligned to our regional growth objectives across the UK. They'll be long-term, and often many of them will have a blend of different investment modes, from capital investment to foreign direct investment. And that's something we'll explain a bit more about shortly. So without further ado, let me hand over to Neil to talk to us about originating projects.
Okay, Gus, look, thanks very much. And I suppose really it really asks the question is, how do we source projects and opportunities? Our business model centers around one very important word, and that is collaboration. In that we have a foot in the camp of central government, effectively Whitehall base, but also reaching out, is always at the heart of what we do. and where we source projects from. And that is because no matter where you are in the world, whether you're talking about property or indeed infrastructure to a lesser extent, when it boils down to it, property propositions, and those propositions are always local. So, with that, in that regard, we reach out to local government, regional entities, councils, trade organisations, and of course the private sector to collaborate and share ideas and market knowledge. And most importantly of all, build relationships over the long term. And, Gus alluded to that earlier on. We're into the long-term game here. That reaching out and sourcing of ideas is really at the core of what we do. And it then means that we can assess opportunities. So if you think about how we actually pick our ideas and opportunities, which we can then assess, how do we actually do that? Let me start by saying that in our experience, investors look for really four things in a real estate or indeed an infrastructure context. The first thing is what is it going to cost? What's the opportunity going to cost? Second thing is what needs to be done to get a return out of it? Thirdly, what is that return? And fourthly, and importantly as well, how long will it take to get that return? And what is the process and what are the risks effectively from getting from A to B? So when you actually get under the bonnet of all of that and what we do, it's really a process of analysis of each individual project. And that's in the context of a micro marketplace, where you look at things like Brexit and world influences, and also the micro marketplaces, which by their nature have more effectively local influences. For example, local competition with other projects. All of these things need to be understood, and that's where our depth of expertise comes to. When applied, which requires a knowledge of government policy and how it influences a project, and also market value knowledge. For example, what impact COVID will have on, for example, the local office market. And the reason that we do all of that is because the lead-in time for projects is long. Our projects tend to have two characteristics, which are that an investor usually has to spend capital up front over a period of time, sometimes a significant period of time, and there's also a longish gestation period. So that is why we have this stepped process, that is referred to on Gateway 1 and 2 on the slides, the slide that you can see in front of you. And Gateway 1 and 2 depends on how advanced the project is. We may look at a project, the first instance in a Gateway 1 context, and then have a deeper dive at Gateway 2. So essentially what we're doing is we're making sure that these opportunities are credible and they're ready for investment for the marketplace to enable us to give them a passport for promotion. So the next slide we have shows you an example of a project which is in promotion, and it's called Central Quay in Cardiff. And you can see from this slide that there are key characteristics of what it is, where it fits into the marketplace, which effectively gives the investor a taster of what it is, and hopefully encouragement then to ask more questions. The final slide I'd like to talk about then just shows you some pictures of regional investment opportunities. These are portfolios that we have throughout the UK regions, which are really from all around the UK. Nowhere is excluded. They're available digitally. And of course, this is just one example of the promotion activity that we have. We're active in getting a message across and out there that we have these great projects within our portfolio. And Simon will now tell you a little bit more about this.
Thanks, Neil. I'd like to talk a little bit about the investors that we work with and why they're interested in working in the UK. What's so special about the UK? Well, it's a state. It's if you look at it in an international context, we're extremely stable, and we've got an independent legal and regulatory framework. Also, a stable planning framework, which people readily understand and can get to grips with. London is clearly a preeminent financial centre, with all the relevant financial products and institutions here. The currency is relatively stable and free-floating rather. And there are commercial opportunities in the UK, which people understand, and they understand that we're open to private investment. The evidence of that is palpable. There are a relatively strong economy, and population growth is important to investors as well. We've got one of the lowest tax systems in the OECD. So in a whole range of ways, the UK is an attractive environment. And I guess there are many overseas investors that you already know about that are in the UK, but there are plenty more that aren't. And so the supply-demand equation is really significant here. So on the one hand, project owners will be perhaps interested in having a conversation with overseas investors, what they can offer, but they don't know who those investors necessarily are, and certainly how to access them, and maybe which ones to trust more than others. And then from the other perspective, the investors that are already in the UK, or indeed those that are not in the UK, they're not necessarily aware where the opportunities are and who to talk to, and again, who to trust. And we can provide that bridge building facility. And of course, the investor market is absolutely vast. And it covers all manner of different types of investors who will have different appetites and different wants. So, for example, roles in the project. A pension fund might like to come in quite late to a project or have a passive role in it with a low return, but a fairly stable and predictable one. Whereas a more active investor might be prepared to take more risk and want to come in early at the development stage and perhaps even help to design and bring forward the project. So an investor might have a financial play. They may have a strategic reasons for wanting to invest. So they may want to get access to a particular sector, potentially some knowledge transfer, or particular geography. Lots of different reasons. And going with that will be their different risk appetite. How eager are they to get into these sectors and into these projects and into these geographies? And their hurdle rates and returns will also reflect that risk appetite as well. Some larger investors will only look at things of a really significant scale. I think one or two of the Gulf area sovereign wealth funds only look at things above 500 million GDP, significant scale projects. Others a lot less. And again, some will be interested in particular sectors of the economy, particular asset classes, and we try and feed all those different appetites. We have relationships with it's well over 200 investors all around the globe. We can group them into financial investors such as pension funds, insurance companies. We have relations with most of the largest throughout the world. And then governmental investors as well, sovereign wealth funds and other regional development banks and so on. And then, as Gus mentioned earlier, there's plenty of corporates, either from North America or Japan, or those are significant areas, but from other areas too, who we work with as well. Sometimes entrepreneur investors as well. So we don't work with every market in the UK for large capital. We work with about 20. And we've chosen those, they're on the right-hand side of the screen there. We've chosen those because the data confirms that they provide the greatest investment into the UK. So for us with limited resources, it's important to chase the markets where the most return is likely to come from. And as you see, it's just about everywhere you probably expect to see that we work, including China. And in addition to that list, I think we also work in Switzerland and the Nordics as well. So quite a global reach, and we're very reliant on our fantastic people out in post to help us build our relationships with new and existing investors out in the field. So just to give a couple of examples before I hand back to Gus around examples. So it's quite a busy slide. I wouldn't expect you to read it all, but this is about the Smithfield project in Birmingham City Centre, one of the largest projects in the Midlands over the last few years. And we were instrumental in bringing forward 2 of the final 4 selected bidders for this project. So this was a typical local government project brought forward by the City Council, support by the Midlands Engine and the local LEP. And being a public project, we need to go through the relevant procurement processes. And we often work alongside those bringing forward projects in procurement processes, and indeed the agents that they may appoint to support that process. We work best if we know that this is coming, so we can work during the months prior to expressions of interest and so on to warm up the market, to warm up those investors that we think this type of project would appeal to, and support them through the competitive process, obviously from an arm's length position. And very pleased to report that the successful bidder was one of the two that we had introduced to the project, Lend-Lease, who have gone on to undertake further projects in the Birmingham area. A slightly more recent project that I was directly involved in was one called Shaping Swansea, where we had relationships with all three of the final three bidders for that public procurement process for 7 strategic sites in Swansea. So I think it's it, Gus or Neil, I'm back over to you guys. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Simon. We'll go straight to Neil to talk us through this cross. You're on mute, Neil.
Okay, can you hear now? Great. Thanks very much for that, Simon. And we're going to save the best for last, because what we have here is we've handpicked 2 of our very best examples of regeneration projects. And this one's right in the heart of Belfast city centre, which is the capital of Northern Ireland. It's a really great project for many reasons, but really what is special about it is that it is effectively the beating heart of a city which is reimagined. If we look at the location of it, first of all, it's located on the eastern seaboard of the entire island of Ireland, where effectively most of the population is. This is where the most densely populated part of Ireland is. In fact, they call it the Eastern Economic Corridor, and it runs right from the north to right to the south. Of course, importantly, in the context of Brexit, Northern Ireland is the only part of the UK with a land border with the rest of the EU. So that gives it a unique locational advantage. We've talked briefly about the location within the heart of the city centre of Belfast, but also important is the fact that it's a transport-based opportunity, and such regeneration projects naturally become epicentres of major economic urban growth. So they are, in the truest sense of the word, catalysts for not only their core city, but also their region as well. To give you a sense of the scale of this one, the gross development value, which is the value of the buildings whenever they're all built, it's some 400 million sterling, which in a UK context is very big. For Northern Ireland, it is a game changer. It's something that if a canny investor got involved, they would end up probably controlling a fair bit of each of the sectors of the Northern Irish market. And that's on the back of it being a good critical mass of space. It's about 1.4 million square feet. So you can see from this slide some of the visuals of what will be built. And of course, nothing beats you're going to actually see the opportunity in the flesh, which we'd be more than delighted to do for you, to accompany you. The key points to take away with regard to this opportunity are really 3 things. The first thing is it's backed by the Northern Ireland Executive. And in fact, our own minister was at the market launch day in autumn of last year. And you can't say that about all the projects that we have, but you can say it about this one. We've got the full weight of government behind it. It will be the main transport hub for the entire region, which creates a footfall of about 14 million passengers annually. So you can imagine how busy this location is going to be. And most important of all, I think, is that government are contributing a healthy 200 million towards the project, which is effectively the new transport hub itself. So in that context, if you look at it, all the hard work is done on infrastructure, and that hub is in fact due to open in 2024. So before we move on to Simon, let me just finish by saying that the promoter for this particular project is going to start the process very, very shortly, a matter of weeks, to find the development partner. So let us know if you're interested in joining in what will really be an exciting and rewarding investor journey. Thanks, Simon. Over to you.
Thank you, Neil. So unfortunately, I've only got one slide about Fawley Waterside, but don't worry about that. It's just as significant a project. One I've been working with for 3 years, and only in the last 3 months have the project promoters gone to the market with our support, looking for their investment requirements. So you can see how long we like to stay working with projects and project promoters right from the outset, and working with them, advising them as we go through towards promotion. So Fawley, for those that don't know, is on Southampton Water. It's opposite the port of Southampton. And it was a site, or the core of this project was the site of the former oil-fired power station. And the project is actually a legacy project, I would say, by the adjoining estate landowner. And what's really exciting, apart from its scale, 1,500 homes, million square feet of employment space, it's a new community, effectively. They're referring to it as an intelligent merchant city and a smart city accreditation from UNESCO. So they have the opportunity here to develop from the ground up all of the digital and smart infrastructure that would be, that could possibly be available as a new community is being built in 2021. It's a £2 billion project requiring 400 million of investment, and we are working with them to engage investors globally. And we've already made a number of significant introductions, and we expect to make some more. It's a fantastically sustainable project, as you can imagine. It's got in the New Forest National Park Authority area. It's working very much with, as opposed to against, the natural capital of the local area. So a fabulous project, and do check out the website, Fawley Waterside. Thank you, and back to Gus.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So the final thing that I'm going to say before we draw this presentation to a close is really just to let everyone know that the UK is hosting a global investment summit later this year. So it's happening in October. In that summit, we are bringing 100 to 200 leaders from around the world, not leaders of countries, leaders of corporates and institutional investors, to London, where they're going to meet with UK corporates and owners of UK investment opportunities. The theme of the summit is around launching the UK and celebrating the UK's credentials from a green and environmental and social and governance perspective. So we are bringing together a range of opportunities which we think are going to appeal to investors in those particular segments. We're actually bringing those opportunities together into something that we will be calling the Investment Atlas, which is a new digital platform that we're going to use to showcase different investment opportunities with a map and a searchable, filterable functionality. A little bit like I equate it to an investment version of Rightmove for those who've been on that. And we think that tools like that, bringing UK investment opportunities closer to the international audience, is really what we're all about. And the summit's going to play a key part in that. The final thing I think to say then before we close and start taking questions is about just pulling together what some of Neil and Simon have been saying. I mean, look, I think that the reason we are here, DIT and our investment team, is to help bridge the information gap between the expertise and the incredible projects and innovation that the UK has and that we house within our local teams across the regions, developers, project promoters, in creating really globally attractive and compelling propositions and connecting them with the international investor audience. So that's the role that we play. We help people across the UK to bring their deals and their projects to an international audience. We work mostly on those deals which are most transformational and outside of London. We think the market failure that exists is probably that international investors know London quite well, and to be fair, they know other parts of the southeast, and no doubt there is a good investment track record for foreign investors into other parts of the UK as well. But we want to help bring more of that investment to other parts of the country outside of London, where perhaps it's not going at quite the pace that it could. So look, we really look forward to hearing questions from you all. And I think that we've got one or two in the chat to start off with. So I see there's a question on how long does it take from a project being identified to being cleared for DIT to promote. Neil, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, thanks, Gus, and thank you for the question. It depends on what information is given with the proposal, but if it's all there, it's a matter of weeks. It could be 3-4 weeks. What we've got to do, as I mentioned in my part of the presentation, is we've got to assess the data that's given with it. And it's not, rocket science. It's an investment appraisal which shows a return that's acceptable compared to everything else that we have. A proper planning story. Obviously, you need planning consent for these projects, and one or two other pieces of key information. But if you have an opportunity, the key thing is to make it visible to us as soon as you can, and we will guide you through that process to get the result as quickly as possible. But it doesn't take that long. We've deliberately kept it as simple as we can.
Thanks very much, Neil. Would anyone like to follow up on what Neil's just said there? Otherwise, we'll go to the second question, which is from Sarah. So, Sarah, you asked about accessing information on the DIT projects. So they're all online. If you type in Invest Capital in the UK, you will find an online directory of around 72 different sites and opportunities which are seeking foreign investment. I mentioned that we are bringing in a new digital platform called the Investment Atlas, so that will be a little bit of a freshening up of that online catalogue, and that will be released later this year. But if, of course, you'd like to speak with any of our team about those projects and what it is that we look for in a project before we decide to have it as part of our portfolio and actively promote it around the world, then do speak with one of our team. We'll be really happy to explain that to you in more detail. And then I can see that there's a question on life sciences. So I ask, Simon, would you like to take that one?
Yes, the question says, life sciences is a hot area right now. What key boxes do places need to tick to get investors' interest? Well, you're absolutely right. Life sciences is a hot area right now. And we recognized that about 15 months ago. Hitherto, we'd had a situation where all of us in the team were purely geographically aligned. But when the pandemic struck, we realized that there were certain sectors which were being more adversely hit than others, and some sectors which were being very robust. And so we decided to get behind some of those robust sectors because they're really important for UK PLC as we come out of the pandemic. And I was asked to lead on life sciences. So for the past 15 months, my role has been to deepen my understanding of the sector, identify further opportunities that we can put in front of investors, and have built relationships with many investors that are new to the UK, but eager to get involved in that sector. So to answer the question, the boxes that need to be ticked, well, for us, it's about encouraging investors to look beyond what is generally referred to as the golden triangle for life sciences, which is Cambridge and London. We can support them in those places. Yes, we can, in Oxford, Cambridge and London. But there's some fantastic work in life sciences going on in other parts of the UK, whether that's Manchester, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Newcastle, Cardiff, Bristol, Birmingham, and Warwick. So fantastic work going on. And we want to bring those places to the attention of those investors too. But the projects obviously need, the criteria is the same as any other asset class. So it's around scale, location, investability, and readiness. Is the scheme ready to invest? Some specialist issues in life sciences, but those are fundamentally the same. It's the same in all asset classes.
Thanks very much, Simon. And again, please do feel free, people, to put your questions into the chat or the Q&A component. I thought I might just mention then, so when should you be looking to work with us as the Department for Trade, or ideally from our perspective, what's the right time for you to work with us? Well, if you're a regional partner or promoter, it's certainly when you've got a project which is transformative and regenerative, but for one reason or another, you're not able to access suitable domestic funds from the market, and you're looking to bring new investors in and meet new global investors. So if you come to us with that type of problem statement, then we absolutely exist to help you shape and structure and ready that project to be as attractive as possible to global investors. So do speak to us in that instance whenever that moment happens. Second, if you just want to know more generally speaking about what foreign investors are looking for in the UK at the moment, what is it that usually makes sovereign wealth funds or North American pension funds tick in terms of project structure, ticket size, shovel readiness? Those are things, guidelines around that are the types of things that we can actually help you and your colleagues on. So we're very willing to and happy to sit down with regional teams in LEPs or in councils and sharing what we've picked up, and we can run through case studies of projects which have shifted in the market to give you real tangible examples of that. And in that sense, we've got a real objective around helping improve the UK's overall capability for structuring projects to attract foreign direct investment. Let me see. Neil and Simon, is there anything else that you guys think that we should be passing on to our audience whilst we've got them here?
Because just to add to what you were saying there, Gus, and reflecting on the answer I gave to the life sciences, investors want to know who's going to occupy the buildings that they invest in. That's fundamentally the issue. Who's going to pay the rent? So projects or areas or promoters need to be careful to make sure that there is a context, or there's a demand for the type of building that they want to bring forward. And certainly in a commercial setting, if there is a place that wants to set themselves up as a life sciences centre, but there's no real history of that work going on in that area, there's no university, there's no R&D to speak of, you just can't do that from scratch. And investors will know that, and they'll walk away. So ultimately, investors need to know that who are the occupiers likely to be, and what is the potential for there to continue to be occupiers as inevitably turnover of occupation takes place.
think if I could maybe just finish, Gus, by saying that I think you always have to remember that effectively you're producing a product for a marketplace, and follows on from what Simon was saying. It also relates to any type of investment opportunity. There has to be a market for it. We can help project promoters shape that if they talk to us early enough. And I would just leave the audience with the word collaboration again, which I think is a key thing here. If we have early visibility of opportunities, I think that ultimately that puts everybody in a better place, because we can help to shape things. And we'll be honest as well, if we think that perhaps it's the wrong sector that's been focused on, I think that and there's nobody on our team will say anything else. We'll be honest and forthright about it.
Thanks, Neil. That's a really good point to close on. Our responsibility really is to be the neutral and quite direct voice at the centre, who can provide that honest advice on how suitable projects are, how attractive projects are, and what we can do as the UK to make them as compelling as possible. Look, everyone, we've shared some details in, I think, the chat on our website, as well as within the presentation we had details for Neil, Simon and myself, and we're certainly very happy to share our LinkedIn details and for anyone to get in touch with us at any time. We'd really love to hear more from you about what you want from the department as well. We are a service provider to the taxpayer and businesses across the country. We want to be the best investment promotion agency in the world, and we can only do that by iterating and updating our service offer, moving with the market, and having the right people, skills, and relationships in place. So please do get in touch with us for feedback as well. Thanks very much then from us, and I think I'm going to hand back to Ross now.
As if by magic, I've appeared. Thanks very much, guys. That was a really useful and interesting session. I hope that everyone enjoyed learning about what you do, seeing those case studies. That's great. If you like the Weaver's Cross one, by the way, there's a Belfast session as part of Real Estate Live on Thursday morning, 9 o'clock. So come along, join in with that, and see what else is going on in Belfast. Thank you, as I just said, to speakers. Brilliant. Thank you to the audience who came along. Thank you for turning up. You're into Real Estate Live, so you may be interested in some of the other sessions that we've got. And just appearing on your screen now, we can see that this afternoon we have, Kingston has just started, but you can still catch it. I'm sure you'll catch up. Then we've got the RIBA also on, and they're delivering their 100 online. And later this afternoon, we have Merchant Land session. What impact will the latest planning reforms have on developers in London? I mentioned Belfast on Thursday. I will mention Norfolk and Suffolk Unlimited, because I will be hosting that one. That's tomorrow, Wednesday, 12 midday. There are lots of other sessions. So check back on the website, realestatelive.co.uk, to see more of that program, and come and join us. We like having you around. So thanks very much. As I said to everybody, thank you speakers, thank you audience. Enjoy the rest of the week. Goodbye.